Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2013. Two words for you. Holy shit. Reason why I say that, last night was the part one of the mid-season finale of Arrow. Um, it was incredible. A huge cliffhanger. Huge. Um, it was the eighth episode of the season, titled The Scientist. And basically, let me just start off. We saw last week that Alderman Blood is experimenting on other people, and one of the guys, Cyrus, he says he feels very powerful. So this episode starts off with Queen Consolidated being robbed by someone who has extreme strength. This person knocked down a huge steel door by themselves. You know, we all know who it is, obviously. It's got to be Cyrus. So, this episode takes, takes place probably a couple days after Moira was released from prison, because Oliver and Moira go up to Queen Consolidated, at the office. And, I love Felicity. Let me just tell you, I love her awkward quirkiness, because there was this point in time between Felicity and Moira. She makes a gimmick about her being in prison, and it's awkward, and Oliver's like, what the hell, really? So when both Oliver and Moira entered the conference room to the office, Isabel doesn't seem very happy. She doesn't trust Moira. She doesn't believe that, she's innocent for what happened in the Glades. So during that argument, Diggle informs Oliver about, the robbery at the warehouse, and the three of them, Diggle, Oliver, and Felicity, join Officer Lance at the warehouse. And lo and behold, while they're looking at some evidence, Barry Allen came into the scene. It's great. Barry Allen in Arrow. Barry is played by a young boy, or I shouldn't say young boy, a young man by the name of Grant Gustin. I still can't get his name right. And he tells everyone, he's a crime investigator as a forensic scientist, and he informs the group, whoever took this, whoever robbed you guys took something called a centrifuge, which is some sort of device that deals with, like, weight and light stuff moving to the top, something like that. But after meeting Barry, we go back to the island, and we see Oliver, Slade, Shadow, and Sarah all looking for the submarine where the serum is supposed to be that Dr. Ivo was mentioning. And, Slade is still doing really bad, and they want to use the serum for him. Along the way in the woods, Shadow, or Oliver tells Shadow his past with Sarah and what he did to Laurel, basically. And she's got her suspicions. She's not liking it right now. And Oliver also notices that Slade and Shadow kind of got closer from the point in time when Oliver was abducted. But back in Starling City, Barry and Felicity are working on some forensic studies on, like, how they can track the criminal who took the centrifuge. And you see this connection between both of them, both Felicity and Barry. They're both quirky and, They both just rant about like the most useless information in a conversation. It's great. They're basically the same two. They're basically the same character. It's crazy. Um, so during the studies, um, Felicity asks, why are you here? Like, why are you interested in the hood, actually? And, he tells Felicity, Barry tells her, that, my mom was murdered when I was younger, and ever since then I've wanted to, work in crime. And so, that has Felicity, feeling for him. She's got a soft side for him. She likes him. But Oliver isn't too keen about Barry working on the investigation, so he asks Diggle, check up on this guy, see who he really is. So, not only do we have problems in that group, Moira is visited by none other than Malcolm Merlyn, everyone. Yeah, if you didn't see my review 2 weeks ago, yeah, he's back. The Dark Archer is still alive. So, he comes to Moira and says, he threatens her to say, if you don't tell Thea that she's my daughter, I'm going to take her from you myself. So, she doesn't like that. And, but she fights it. I'll get into that later. But, yeah, back on the island, we're going back to the island, and the group find the submarine, and, it's all, it's, down in the water, obviously, and the group goes into the submarine, and they actually find the serum. But Sarah mentions, Slade needs a sedative for him to take this serum, or else it'll kill him. But they're willing to take that risk, and so is Slade. So Slade gives Oliver the go-ahead and injects him with it. But the effects, it doesn't go well for him. Let's just say that. And we don't know what else could happen to him. Because he's knocked unconscious or something. We'll see next week in the second part of the finale. Also, since Moira got out of prison, Oliver wants to throw a party. And Felicity actually is invited, and she asks Barry to be her +1. And Barry mentions Barry Allen, of all people, says he's not good on his feet when it comes to dancing. So it's great to see, great to hear that someone like Barry Allen, someone who's going to be the Flash, is not good on his feet. Oh my god, it was great. So, at the same time, Roy and Thea get a call from Sid, and Sid asks for Roy's help to find her friend Max. And Thea goes with him. So, Thea starts to trust Roy and his activities, in the glades, fighting and getting in trouble and everything now. So there's a progression in their love life. So that's good. But when they get to Max's apartment, they find a blood drive pamphlet, which was, sponsored by Alderman Blood. And in Max's room, we just see drawings of the mask, what looks like the mask that Alderman Blood uses in his experiments. So we believe that Max was part of those experiments. Anyway, while Oliver does find out that the man who took the centrifuge is stealing a blood drive truck full of blood, and he tries to confront this criminal, it doesn't go well for Oliver. He gets knocked off the truck, and he loses the criminal. But after recovering from the fight, he says to Diggle and Felicity, I've seen this before. I've seen this kind of strength back on the island. It's a serum, basically, for a super soldier. And it turns out, you need three things for this serum, the centrifuge, blood, and a sedative. Just like what happened with Slade. So they track down where these people would find the sedatives, and they find the medical warehouse, and Oliver, is about to go. He wants to go and stop Cyrus and their plan, because he realizes that Cyrus and whoever he's working for wants to create more serum. They want to create more, like, super soldiers, basically. But also, he confronts Felicity and Barry on who he really is. Turns out, Barry is in Starling City on his own terms. Because, turns out, when Barry's mother was killed, there was a blur that went through his house that same night, and he tried to stop this blur, and in doing so, he winds up, a mile down the road or something. And when he gets back, the cops blame his father, and his mother's dead. And ever since then, he's been wanting to solve unexplained crimes, such as this one with Cyrus. And, from there, he leaves, he wants to leave Starling now that his jig is up. Let me just, also, we heard the term the blur. That was great to hear again. We heard it in Smallville before Clark Kent became Superman. But what I'm guessing, guys, is that blur could have been Jay Garrick, the speedster before Barry Allen. So, hey, who knows? Maybe we could see Jay Garrick in, like, future seasons, like, 4th, 5th, or 6th season. So, Oliver goes to that medical warehouse to stop Cyrus and his plan to get the sedatives, and he finds Cyrus. There's this fight scene was incredibly choreographed. It was great, but it doesn't go well for Oliver. This guy Cyrus, he knocks Oliver with crazy punches. One makes Oliver go through this crate, and turns out, Oliver gets stuck with some poison. Doesn't look good for him. But Diggle and Felicity find him, knocked out, barely alive, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to, fix him. So Felicity has the idea, I know who can help us. I know who can help Oliver. So basically, they turn to Barry Allen, but forcefully. They kind of knock him out at the train station, and Barry wakes up in the Arrow Cave, and he knows where he is now. When he wakes up, he knows where he's at. And basically, the cliffhanger comes to Oliver being on an operating table, and oh my god, it looks insane. So, next week is the final part of the mid-season finale, and in the promo, we see two things. Oliver seems he thinks he's compromised for some reason, and I think we got a glimpse, guys, of Oliver wearing that green mask. Oh my god. That will be awesome if we can see that. Oh man, that's going to be great. So yeah, the 9th episode is called Three Ghosts. And that will be the final episode of Arrow for 2013 until we come back in 2014 for the rest of the season. So that's it for me for tonight's review. And that's about it. Yeah, I'll see you all later. Have a good night. Bye.